Hi, this is Ed from Exotic Blanks. Today we're going to cover the new 45 caliber pen from Berea Hardwoods. I'm going to turn it, but that's not going to take very long. Most of what we're going to cover here is how to assemble it. This was one of those rare occasions when I actually read the instructions and found that there are a few things that we can do to make this significantly easier and increase your chances of success dramatically. First of all, as I say, we're going to go through the turning here. It's pretty quick. I sped it up quite a bit, so it shouldn't take too long. But as we do this, I am using a red metallic resin, which this is kind of an interesting pen. There isn't a lot of material on it. So I think when you select your material, you're probably not going to want to do anything real fancy. We're trying to do things that are gun related. So simple blank seems to be in order for this one. And as I say, I chose our metallic red. It's an Italian resin, and it came out pretty nice, I think. That's turning it is getting it down to the bushings. And in this case, getting it to the bushings is very important. It has to be equal to the bushings or slightly beneath. If you're planning on doing wood and putting any kind of a finish on it, you're probably going to have to turn it beneath the bushings so that you can put the finish on it so that you still say below the bushings. There is a key piece here that we're going to use for measuring. That's the part that is in the pen kit, the part that has the diamond pattern on it. We take that and use it as our measuring gauge, and then turn down the blank until it actually fits very comfortably into that piece that we're going to use as a sleeve. So I turn it down until I'm fairly comfortable with the size, and honestly I was pretty sure it was not going to fit yet, but I wanted to demonstrate how this sleeve can be used. We take off the piece and push the sleeve over the end of it. It fits on both ends. It does not fit over the middle. You could use this because you're only interested in about the first quarter to 3/8 of an inch that you're going to need to have that sleeve click over when you use the click mechanism. So the first 3/8 of an inch is the important part on whichever end you're going to use as the top. Because this was the first time that I'd made this pen, I decided I wanted it to fit over it completely. I can always change it later on. If I do the second or third or fifth one, you can do a different design, but until you know how the pen works and what makes it actually operate, it's not a bad idea to use some conservatism. One of the things about this design where it clicked over the body of the pen, years ago there was another pen that did that. It was a Parker mechanism that we had, and I always had trouble with that pen because it took me for a very long time to realize that I had some friction there because I wasn't turning the pen small enough. So this time I thought, well, I'll make sure that this is right, and finally we've gotten to the point where I think we take this off and actually test it, and it is the right diameter. So that's the easy way to check it. Put your piece over. If it fits like that, you're good to go. Now we go on to buffing, and then we'll go into the assembly of the actual pen. To begin the assembly of any pen kit, I always take the pen kit and dump it into a freezer container, and then take all the plastic bags off and dump all the parts into the freezer container one at a time. That way I don't lose trim rings and I don't lose springs. One of the things I did a lot of when I was working in my shop at home where I had sawdust on the floor, as soon as something fell to the floor, it was gone forever. So that's one of the things that you can do, is put it into a freezer container or some other little plastic container. That way you know you keep all the parts where they belong, and you're not trying to get extra parts because you lost them in your sawdust pile. From there, you can see that what we're doing is trying to follow the instructions piece by piece. So let's read the instructions and then tie it into the video. So step 1 says press the nib adapter into one end of your blank. Step 2, press the threaded transmission adapter into the other end. Step 3, press the nib into the nib adapter. Lay this assembly aside for a moment. Although it isn't stated in the instructions, I use an arbor press to do my pushing together, my inserting of parts. And I have this base that I'm showing here that makes it so that the threads are never the thing upon which I'm pushing. Push on the outside of the piece, but not on the threads whenever possible. And that way you won't bollocks up any of the pieces as you're trying to put them together. You're putting up to a ton of pressure on this thing. Be kind of careful how you do it. Okay, we're up to for number 4, which is in red. So it's always concerning when you see something printed in red. It says, press the clip transmission into one end of the metal barrel. Take care here that the notch in the clip adapter transmission is lined up with one of the smooth areas of the metal barrel. If this part does not fit in tightly, you will need to use a small amount of CA glue epoxy or thread lock to hold it in place. Now, number 5, slide or press the decorative ring onto the other end of the metal barrel. If the ring is loose, a tiny amount of CA glue epoxy or thread lock will secure the ring. Let either of these set for a few minutes before proceeding. Having done it once, I would put them all into one category. Basically, put the top onto this brass part and then put the little ring on the bottom of the brass part. I would use Loctite on both of them because they do slide in and out without any trouble. And I would pay special attention to that little clip hole. The clip hole is a very tight fit onto the clip. So make certain that you have it where you want it, and you might even want to put the clip into it a couple of times while you can still see everything, and it's easy to do. So that would be my suggestion. Put the 2 pieces on that are going to have to be glued in place, and then put that off to the side with a rubber band around it or some other method of holding it together so that it glues where you want it to so the notch doesn't move. Here's a picture of the pen that I ended up with, and you can see that the clip is not over the blank space. It is instead over the cross hatching. So that's the reason that I'm trying to be rather explicit about how you do this. I did it, I thought, right, and then the glue didn't take, and so I went back down and re-glued it, and when I re-glued it, I obviously did a lousy job. So tried to save you the same embarrassment that I had myself. If you look at the clip from the top as you put it into your top of the pen, you can see that that clip cutout is just about the right size for the actual piece of metal that has to go through it. So I suggest you look at this a little bit from the top, because once you've got it in place and you try to put in the part that holds it in place, it isn't easy. You can't see anything. You will know if you have it in place properly, because once you do try to push it down with your arbor press or whatever, you will eliminate the gap completely. As you can see in the picture, the gap is gone completely, and it's a nice tight fit. So if you get that, you did get everything lined up properly. If you don't have that, you still have some stuff to try to figure out how to line up. The final steps are pretty easy, as they are with most pens. Just screw together the 2 pieces. Now when I do this, I put the refill in and push on it a couple of times just to make sure that the refill is going to go in and out through the nib. Sometimes you end up with problems with pens. If you've already checked that aspect of it, you know that that's not the problem. So that's the first thing I do. Then I screw the pen together, and as you can see, I'm clicking it a little bit to check to make sure that it works. Everything is right, at least as right as it can be. So this is what the pen looked like, and I thank you for listening. This is Ed with Exotic Blanks, introducing the 45 caliber pen from Berea Hardwoods. We hope you'll take a look at it and try some. Thank you for watching. Of course, we'd like to see you subscribe to the channel, and at the same time, stop by Exotic Blanks. See if you can find something you like. Thank you for watching. Good turning to you.